through the Hotz Celsus. So this is, again, a corrective procedure for entropion. And I have a tongue depressor underneath the eyelid, kind of protecting the eyeball. And what I'm going to be doing is making 2 incisions through the skin. You can go a little bit into the orbicularis oculi muscle, but it's not always necessary. And my first incision is going to be just a few millimeters from the lid margin. In dogs and cats, often when you're about 4 or 5 millimeters from the lid margin, that's where the hair starts, and that's often a good kind of landmark. I'm just noticing in our pigs that they have a little bit extra space with no hair, so you wouldn't want to go to the actual hair-non-hair junction in these pig eyes. The first incision is going to be a linear incision parallel to the lid margin. And again, just going through the skin is fine. You can go a little bit into the muscle. Next, I'm going to make an elliptical incision below my parallel incision, and the ends are going to meet. So it's almost like, say, just like a little smiley face or curvilinear incision. And again, in a live patient, I would measure how much tissue I need to remove to roll out those lids perfectly, and that's kind of the distance that I would use to know how far to make this curvilinear incision. So now you see I have a linear incision and a curvilinear incision. What I'm going to do next is remove this tissue, and one of the easiest things to do is to take your tenotomy scissors. You can just kind of grasp the edge of your incision and then just cut parallel all the way across. Okay, so now we've removed that little ellipse, and I'm just making sure that my surgical bed is nice and even. If you need to kind of take a few extra snips of tissue so that the whole bed is in the same plane, you can do that. Next, we're going to close this with simple interrupted sutures. And if I just started at one end and moved all the way to the other end, I might get a dog ear because my two incisions are different lengths. And so the nicest thing to do is to start right in the middle and kind of split the thickness. And I'm going to do a simple interrupted by taking my first bite, just a small kind of skin bite close to the edge of the eyelid, right in the middle. And then I'm going to go across to the other side. So if I start in the middle and then I kind of split the distance in between this suture and the edge, I'm going to have really nicely spaced out sutures, and I won't have like any dog ears at the end. So now we'll place our simple interrupted. And you just want to have nice apposition of the skin. So you don't need to have it too tight here. And after about 4 throws, you can go ahead and cut your suture. And one little trick that I have, notice how my suture is kind of vertical, up and down. The tag that's closest to the eyeball, I'm going to cut really short, so I know that's not going to roll inward and contact the cornea. The tag that's farther away from the eyeball, I'm going to cut that a little bit longer, so you have something to remove later on once the skin heals. So now I did my first suture right in the middle. If I were to continue this, I would go in between that suture and the edge, so I'd go right there, and then maybe in between those spots, and then on the same side I would do the same thing. So this really nicely evenly spaced out simple interrupted sutures, and that will help to evert your eyelid. Does that make sense to everyone before we move?